Now that we've mastered form validation, we're going to move on to something a little different. At the beginning of this section, I mentioned that one of the great advantages of using something like jQuery is the huge number of plugins that are built for it, and I showed you some of those to whet your appetite. So for the next few videos, we're going to look in a bit more detail at one of those plugins to give you a bit of an idea how you might integrate plugins into your websites and use the documentation provided to get set up and to customize your installation exactly how you need it. So let's start by jumping over to jQueryui.com and just reminding ourselves what it is. Got a nice definition there. jQuery UI is a curated set of user interface interactions, effects and widgets and themes built on top of jQuery. So we're just going to go through a few of those. Essentially, we'll select some of the most popular options from the left there, and we'll look at the documentation in a little bit of detail to see how you can set up not only the default draggable, droppable, resizable widgets, etc., but also customize them to behave exactly how you want them to. So here's a quick little challenge for you. Can you work out how to integrate the jQuery UI JavaScript into your web page? I'll give you a clue. It's a very similar process to how we integrated jQuery in the first place. So think back to that. Best of luck. All right, hope you managed it. Your eye should have been caught by this quick downloads option here, and I would have recommended going for the stable download. So I'm going to download it again directly into my jQuery folder. You can see it's a zip file here, so we're not certain exactly what it's going to contain, but I'm going to click on it there to unzip it, and then so this gives us a jQuery UI folder which has a bunch of CSS and JavaScript as well as some images, and this index.html looks to me like it will be an example page. So let's have a look. Open with Google Chrome. We'll see what's going on there. There we go. So we can see that jQuery UI is installed and working here. So let's have a quick look at the code, which we do using right click or control click and view page source. So at the top here you can see that we've got a style sheet, jQuery-ui.css, linked there. So let's pop that in. Our code. Remember, it's in a subfolder, so we need to give it the correct location. I'm going to rename that subfolder just so it's a bit simpler to just jQuery-ui. So we want jQuery-ui / jQueryui.css. Okay, there's some custom styles there. We don't need those. What we really want is the jQuery UI JavaScript, which I suspect is at the bottom of the page here. There we go. So that's pretty straightforward. This is linking to jQuery, which we've already got set up on our page just there. So we don't need to do that, but we do need, of course, the jQuery UI JavaScript. I like to keep my JavaScript together away from my CSS. So there's jQuery. We just need to add again the subfolder jQuery UI and then the JavaScript. Okay, so notice I figured that out just by looking at the download. There is, of course, instructions on the site for getting started, and you may have found those scrolling down a little and then clicking on the Getting Started guide, and that would just lead you through the process of downloading, etc. But generally, if you're wanting to dive in with a new jQuery plugin, my advice is just download it and look through the files to see if you can get it set up yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to do a final test to see if this has all worked. I'm going to get rid of the custom styles from my form and everything else down there as well. We'll leave the script code. There we go. So final challenge then, to test that this has been set up correctly. Can you set up a jQuery draggable element? I'll give you a clue. If you click View Source on jQuery.com, you'll get something that you should be able to copy and edit to meet your needs. Go for it. All right, I hope you managed that. Some of you may have noticed that you could have just copied and pasted this whole code and popped it into your HTML file, but that would have been slightly against the spirit of the thing. So let's try and do it ourselves. It certainly looks to me like the key line that we're interested in here is this one here, which looks to me like it takes the element with an ID of draggable and makes it draggable by applying the draggable function to it. So let's just copy that line of code and paste that into our script tags, and then let's just make an ID of draggable. And I'll just put some text in it. And with any luck, if we've connected everything up right, we'll be able to drag that around. There we go. So that's how easy it is to get started. As I've said, in the next couple of videos, we'll look at some other jQuery UI features in a bit more detail, specifically how we can customize them. And remember, the main reason for doing this is not to become jQuery UI experts, but it's to see how to use online documentation for things like jQuery plugins in order to apply them to your sites to make them more interactive, more powerful, and more fun to use. And we'll be starting with resizables.